Welcome
You
to Sweden.
too. Thank you. Nice to be here. Richard Ellis, he's a young, well, I'd say young, 30-something qualified winemaker who's been involved in the industry from his mid-teens. Someone who loves life and has a huge passion for good food and consequently good wine, and I guess most importantly sharing that with good people. So a French expression, a bon vivant, is probably a good way of describing me. Greywacke was founded in 2009 by Kevin Judd and his wife Kimberly. So it's a fairly young company, but I guess with Kevin's history in Marlborough and his association in the past with Clardy Bay, he's been in Marlborough region now for 30 years. So young company, but with a huge amount of experience and background. So at Greywacke, our main focus is on two key varieties. I guess Sauvignon Blanc, of course. It's kind of the classic wine which people associate with Marlborough. That really dry, crisp, intense fruit sort of driven style. We also make an alternative style of Sauvignon Blanc, which we think is a really interesting take on Marlborough Sauvignon, and we call it our Wild Sauvignon. And we think that's another really good example of what Marlborough can do for a Sauvignon. And then the other main focus is on Pinot Noir, which is the only red variety that we make. In between those, we make some Pinot Gris, we make some Riesling, as I say, a very small amount of Chardonnay, and we also do a late harvest wine as well. So our philosophy on wild yeast at Greywacke, we're really open to the use of it, and in fact, most of our wines are actually fermented using wild yeast. I guess in the past in New Zealand we've been very safe and prescriptive, and we've taken a very scientific approach, and as such we've focused on using cultured strains of yeast that we know are safe and reliable and will get the job done for us. But what we're finding, the more that we try using wild yeast, we're finding it is giving us increasingly interesting wines. We're getting more texture, we're getting more savoury characters, and we're actually finding it's quite a safe, reliable option. And so at Greywacke we're sort of throwing the rule book away, and we're starting to use wild yeast with varieties in the past that we would never have done it with Sauvignon Blanc, the Wild Sauvignon. With our Riesling and Pinot Gris, where in the past when I was studying winemaking it was always you must use a cultured strain of yeast and you must do this in stainless steel tanks. Now we're fermenting half of our wine in old oak barrels, and we're using wild yeast, and so we think that the results are really positive, and so as such we're using more and more wild yeast in our winemaking. So it's a good thing. All of our vineyards, if they're not already certified organic, then they are in transition to being certified organic. So it's not something that we put on the label. For us it's a really nice philosophy, and we think if you can grow grapes organically and the climate permits and it makes for a better wine, then absolutely it's the right thing to do. So we're very fortunate in Marlborough to have a climate that's really quite conducive to growing organically. And so, as I say, the vineyards that aren't already certified will be in about 2 years' time. So yes, we are organic producers. I find that we've got a lot of innovation which we're already doing, and I guess we'll continue to try and tweak and enhance the wines that we're making. So we're very much not a recipe winery, and I think there's that constant innovation which will keep me motivated and keep Greywacke hopefully ahead and slightly different to a number of other New Zealand producers. So yeah, so I think there's a lot of growth potential in terms of quality, not just in volume but in terms of what we can do and the interest factor in the wines that we're making.